My dad has a serious mental illness. What some people would say would be a serious mental illness, but I would see it as an emotional vulnerability. And he's always had that from we were children. My dad would have had quite a difficult experience in terms of, hearing voices and having a lot of disordered thinking, and would have found it quite difficult to relate to us. When he was admitted to hospital for the first time, I found that quite a strange experience. I was emotionally numb, but I remember going in for the first time to see him, and pressed the button, the buzzer in the door. There was a big loud buzzer noise. I'd never been in this ward before. I'd never been in this environment before. But there was this time where he was talking to us, and he'd said to us that he was getting ECT, it's electroconvulsive therapy, and that was basically where they take him to part of the hospital where they'll sedate him and they'll place an electrical current through his brain, effectively. And it was described to me by one of the nurses as, well, when your car breaks down and you get your battery charged, well, that's what it's like. So I've always got this thing in my head about, and that made it quite difficult for me, because I was thinking, my daddy is not a machine. My daddy is a person. My daddy is my daddy. And I'll never forget leaving the hospital on the way out, leaving the ward. There was a nurse who was my dad's now named nurse. So I asked, well, what's going on with my daddy? What's happening? And the nurse said, well, he's experienced a psychosis. And he's basically told us what a psychosis was, some of the symptoms and some of the types of treatment that might be made available for him. And that's when I realised that I needed a bit of help and support as well. And they put us in contact with Cause, and it was my mum who got in contact with Cause to begin with. Then I came in contact with Cause as well, but I did it as an individual, and I didn't tell my mum. I didn't want anybody else to know, and that's the important thing as well, that if you ring Cause, it's treated completely confidentially. And I had periods of depression, deep depression. But when you sit and listen to other people's stories, and they listen to your story, that's when I realised that there were people out there like me who were prepared to support me and see me for who I am. And in another way, they saw my daddy for who he is and was. He's always been my daddy, first and foremost. And he'll always be my daddy. He'll never be defined by an illness. Where I've seen change in my relationship with my daddy, and hopefully he's seen a change in his relationship with me. And that was only really through going to one of the courses that Cause offered. It's a prep course, in terms of giving me some information and helping me to attach some sort of meaning to my experiences and to the experiences that my dad was having. But I think the important thing is to lift the phone, to ring the Cause helpline, to send Cause an email, to find out, go on the Cause website, to find out where the nearest support group is.